Okay, on to the eyelashes and the eyebrows. Before I begin with the eyelashes, I just want to make sure that all my shading, I'm satisfied with all the shading around the eyes, because once I add the eyelashes, it's very difficult to go back and fix the color underneath. So I'm just playing with the color again. I'm deepening the crease with the sienna. I'm just adding a little bit more color of the Indian red just at the tear duct, a little bit underneath the eye. And I'm just going over the eye, the shading, deepening around the eye, adding some more color, and just making sure that I'm happy of how the eye looks before I start adding the eyelashes. So I'm just going to go ahead and blend with my mini stump. Now I'm just finishing up with the blending, and I am now going to take out my mini eraser, and I'm just going to lighten up and re-add in some of the highlights. And this is important. I want to make sure that I'm satisfied with all the highlights around the eye before I add in the eyelashes. So I want to make sure that my pastel pencil is extra sharp and pointy for adding the eyelashes. And this color is Bister. And I'm going to be adding two colors for the eyelashes. So I'm going to start out with the lighter color of brown, which is called a Bister. And I'm just going to outline the lid, the inside of the lid first, the lash line, and then very quickly I'm going to flick out my pencil to create the eyelashes. And none of the eyelashes are straight. I try to flick my pencil, going towards the right. And then as I approach the center, it does straighten out a little bit, but I always try to keep the curves. I always try to curve out the line. And this is not necessary, but I am actually going to add eyelashes even on the bottom lash. Sometimes I add lashes to the bottom lash in my paintings, and sometimes I don't. Because it's a flirty, romantic style painting I want to achieve, I'm going to go full out and add eyelashes even on the bottom. And I add just a touch. So now I'm going to take the darker brown. This is the Van Dyke brown. And again, I just want to make sure that it's quite pointy. And I'm going to add a touch of darker eyelashes. And I'm just going to add them all along the eyelash. Again, flicking my pencil. Here I'm going toward downwards, curved. I curve. Very gently, but yet sturdy. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So here I'm just making sure that I'm happy with my shading and my values on the other eye. So I just want to darken it up a bit. So here I'm just going over with sienna. I go over a little bit with the Indian red. And then after, you'll see me blending it all out. I basically do the same thing to this eye as I did the other eye. So I'm just going to stop talking for now and let you watch my process. I'll come back when I add in the eyelashes again. Okay, once I'm satisfied with the shadows and the highlights around the eye, I go in with my pointy Bister and I apply the eyelashes once again, making sure I curve the lines as I go. I try to go with fast movements. I try not to think about it too much. You know, just try to be relaxed and let your hand just flick, flick, flick. And then I'm going to take the Van Dyke Brown and I'm going to just fill in some of those areas, kind of go over some of those lighter lashes. And this is just going to add a lot of interest to her eyelashes. Because her hair is more on the blondish side, I didn't want to add black for the eyelashes. So that's why I'm just keeping with the lighter browns. And again, at the same time, I didn't want to make it look like she's wearing mascara either. If I did, maybe I would have gone in with like a very, very dark color, maybe like a dark blue or a black, but that would be too harsh. And this is capturing romance, and I want the portrait to be a soft and romantic look. Okay, so I'm just, again, we're going to move on to the eyebrows. So I'm just going to make sure that I have the highlights where I want them to be before I start adding the eyebrows. So just under the eyebrows, there's that bone, the eyebrow bone that does pop out. So that's where I do add the highlight. So I'm going to take the lighter brown, which is the Bister, and I'm going to start applying quick, short strokes for the eyebrows. And the strokes are curved going towards the right, and they do get smaller as I reach the edge of her face. I try to make it look as natural as possible. I am going for a bushy eyebrow. It's very fashionable now, I guess, but you can choose to do any kind of eyebrow you wish. And now I go back into the Van Dyke Brown, and I'm just adding some depth, a little bit more color to her eyebrows. And I'm doing the same movements, just adding a little bit more color to her eyebrows just to make them pop out a little bit more. And I don't add too many lines. I don't want it to be too bushy. I don't want it to be the focus of her face. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to start out with the Bister, and I'm just on the edge of her eyebrows, or just a few little hairs, and then I thicken them up as I go towards her hairline. And notice that the strokes do get smaller as I go towards her hairline. And I'm going to take the Van Dyke Brown again, and I'm just going to fill in. I'm going to fill in her brows with the darker. And I'm just going to wisp. I guess that would be the word. I want her to have wispy eyebrows, wispy eyelashes and wispy eyebrows for a romantic look. And now with eyebrows, it's very easy not to get them in the same position or to get them straight across. I always have difficulty with this, so I just take my pencil or anything straight or a ruler, and I just kind of check on it. I kind of step back, and I just want to make sure that one eyebrow is not higher than the other. I mean, they don't need to be perfect. So here I'm just taking my pencil and I'm just trying to see if they're more or less the same. They're more or less the same. They're not perfect. I see like maybe one eyebrow is a little bit higher than the other, but at this point, I kind of like the fact that she doesn't have a perfect face. I think it gives her a little bit of character.